To record. All right. So thank you all for coming here today. As you know, I'm Hannah Holbrook. I'm the Chief Impact Officer for Symbiotic. Really excited to moderate this event today about challenges and developments for NGOs and nonprofits, specifically challenges and developments that are from the ongoing climate crisis and, of course, the upcoming recession. So before we get started, I'd like to just take a chance to introduce the rest of the Symbiotic team. So I'll start with you, Neb, if you'd like to introduce yourself.
Yeah. Sorry about it. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Dope. All right. Yeah, so I'm Neb Jones. I'm the fractional CTO here at Symbiotic, and my role is I support and lead technology efforts and requirements for Symbiotic, as well as utilize knowledge of AI, machine learning, blockchain technology, and also help develop Symbiotic's platform and help facilitate proper vendor sourcing for internal needs, um, as well as overseeing map data. And I'll pass this on to Jay.
Hi, everybody. I'm Jay Frank from New York City, the founder and CEO of Symbiotic, where we look to connect motivated buyers looking for social impact or sustainability to sellers primed for profit and purpose over channel sales, B2B channel sales, addressing trillions of dollars of spend, carving out social impact in the form of embedded philanthropy, one transaction at a time. The reason we are hosting this event is because of how important the work our social impact partners, nonprofits, are actively working towards the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. And we're excited to highlight our panelists' work and experience from the field. Grateful to be here. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks so much, Jay. And it's been really wonderful to work with the team. Great to have Neb on our team, a newer member as well. And it's been really wonderful working with Jay and being able to work somewhere for a platform where we're embedding philanthropy in business transactions. So I guess we'll get started and hop right into the roundtable, the reason we're here today. So I'd really love to just be able to, have all of you as panelists introduce yourselves. So, John, I'll start with you if that works.
Great. So I'm John Scott from Clean Water Action. We're a national environmental nonprofit just focused on the U.S. I'm physically in New Hampshire right now, but technically my office is in Washington, D.C. My organization is membership-based. We have about 1 million members, give or take, with members, donors, and volunteers in all 50 states and U.S. territories, but a heavy concentration in the upper Midwest, the Northeast, the Mid-Atlantic region, the West Coast, Texas. Anyway, there's a few gaps in there in the middle, but the issues we focus on, everything that is connected to water, and water is connected to everything. And so for today's topic, I want you to keep in mind climate change is water change. We say that, we mean it. You can't address the climate crisis without addressing the water crisis. What we do here in the US has a huge impact globally. And this is me personally. I think if businesses are going to get involved in contributing to solutions through their philanthropy and other means, they need to be looking both in the US and globally. And I'm excited to be part of this conversation and learn more about this.
Awesome. Thank you, John. I'll go over to you, Tawanda.
How are you today? My name is Tawanda Sangwe. I'm the founder and chairman of Green Zimbabwe Initiative. The Green Zimbabwe Initiative is a community-based organization in Zimbabwe where we work with the rural community, teaching them on the importance of conserving the environment, teaching them on sustainable livelihoods. That's what we do. So basically, we are mainly based in the rural areas in Zimbabwe. That's where we actually started doing our work there. We registered last year in June, but we were already in business. We were already teaching people before we were even registered. We were working with the Zimbabwe Forest Commission to do our work. I really want to appreciate the Zimbabwe Forest Commission for trusting us since we are too small, but they came on board, they helped us a lot, and we think we are on the right track. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Tawanda. Folarancho, if you'd like to introduce yourself next.
Oh, thank you, Anna. Thank you for this wonderful moment. Hello, everyone. My name is Foloran Shodai Oluwafemi. I'm the founder of Light Up Initiative, a community-based NGO here in Nigeria, Taraba State to be precise. What we do is we sensitize, educate, train women, youths, and pregnant women in rural and local communities about climate change and opportunities and how to prevent further disasters in the environment, and also for them to be aware of the opportunities that is in climate change. That is not something that cannot be resolved, but it's something we all need to work in hands together to manage to. We have carried out a series of projects, and also we are looking at carrying out more projects to work together with some partners. We're open to partnership, we're a startup, and we look forward to bring the best and a change to the world. Thank you.
Thank you. And last but not least, Asenso, if you'd like to introduce yourself.
Can you hear me now?
Yep, we can hear you.
My name is Asensu Gideon. I'm from Ghana, and our organization is Green Spring Global. We are basically into environmental awareness. So we speak about environmental awareness, especially what is going on, especially in Ghana. We are talking about water bodies, how it's been polluted due to the illegal mining activities that is going on there, and other things. So basically, we are into the awareness creation, and so we go to schools and other places to meet people, and we talk about the need to keep the environment safe for the future. That's
Awesome. Well, thank you all for being here with us today. And we will hop right into some of our guiding questions for today. So I'd really love to start off by, obviously we know the climate crisis is here. It's affecting NGOs, nonprofits, and just companies around the world. It affects the way that they operate. And one thing that I wanted to ask you all is what specifically does your nonprofit, some of you guys have addressed this already, what your nonprofit works on as like a climate issue, but how has that been exacerbated in your time working for this nonprofit or NGO? And what, major changes have you seen environmentally wise, and how has that kind of impacted how you operate? So for example, with like the Light Up Africa Foloren I know that you guys are doing work in communities to kind of, educate and empower people to be able to make difference, about climate change. So, and I know that you guys kind of also help address like light poverty with like Light Up Africa. So, what changes have you seen in Africa specifically? Like what environmental changes have you seen, and how has that impacted your NGO's work?
Thank you so much, Anna. Actually, it's all about passion, and it's all about the changes you've seen. Without a problem, you won't think of solution. And so far, so good. The African communities, especially Nigeria, have been there have been occurrence of, high temperature, high heats, and also pollution, water pollution, flood, and the droughts in some areas. And this has come to the fact that we see this as okay, also as deforestation and deforestation as well. So this called for us to, for we to come together and said these problems are really something that the people are seeing as it's a way of life already, and if something is not being done, there will be a lot of disaster happening. And as I said earlier, some of these disasters started happening that some people in some areas, especially of recent that you heard that over 21 states in Nigeria was flooded due to excess rainfall and the dam in Cameroon that was opened. So this really affected a lot of people. People died. Over 500 to 600 to 700 people died. I'm not. I don't. I'm not even sure the number actual numbers was given, but millions of nairas of properties and homes were just gone. And this as all this something that the challenges that we are facing, and this has caused a lot of erosion as well. Erosion in some areas, in some uh, in some farming areas, especially those that are based into farming activities. So we see this as a challenge that we need to come out and talk. We need to speak to our people. We need to sensitize them. Information is power. If you don't know something, ignorance is something that can kill. So we need to come down to their own level and go down to those communities. What are you people doing that is not proper, that is bringing this a lot of effect and disaster into your communities? So why can't you do it this other way, so that to see if there will be changes? And so far so good. You and I know that we've gone to the radio stations to talk to people, create awareness about climate change and what is being needed for them to bring solutions, and also for them to reduce the emission of CO2. I also talked about clean energy, whereby we are advising women to stop using firewood and the coal. They can also cut the rate, not the rate of using a firewood, and also fossil fuels as well. So these have been kind of awareness we're creating. Also, we've been going to schools. We feel that it's time for us to catch them young. Catch them young means that we need to go to the younger ones. The younger generations are the one that's going to feel the impact of climate change. We are just the one seeing just few of it. You and I know that 2050, 2070 to come, if something is not being done, I think our generation is not really going to be happy with our actions at which we are taking right now. So we go down there, we teach them about climate change, we talk to them, we also let them know how they can also be a climate change ambassador in their homes, advise their parents on when to put on electricity and when to off it, on what they can also other alternative or source of energy they can use to also help the environment as well. And also we're also discussing, we go to places to plant trees in some areas whereby we tell them, okay, we see there are no good numbers of trees there. We go there, we with some partners, and we put some trees around there with trackers, and we track them, we monitor how those trees are doing as well. So that years to come, those trees will stand as something that can also be help to reduce the effect of climate change in those communities and in those homes as well. So these are what we've been doing, and these are what we've been putting together. Actually, it has not been easy. It has not been easy, whereby you have the passion, you don't have the connection of those to see how you're saying things, and it's you have the language barrier. Okay, but like where I am, we have about almost 60 to 70 different tribes, languages. So you and I know that if you are going to such community, you have to be very careful. You have to go down to the community. Sometimes the community leaders may decide that they are not ready to listen. They may decide they request for something from you as well. Like, okay, what did you bring for me as a leader? For me, you don't just come to play. So these are some of the challenges we're facing. Sometimes you go to places, if you're not careful, you're being kidnapped. They believe you're an NGO, not looking at the impact you're trying to make, the solutions you're trying. You'll be kidnapped and they'll be asking for a ransom. So these are what and what, but nevertheless, we still feel we still have to push this. We still have to let the people know what is happening. And the government as well is also part of the challenge. And we also always calling down to the government to also be part of the solution, not part of the challenge to this disaster that is happening. We should not wait until there's a disaster before we are able to create solution. We should work ahead to prevent disasters. Even if it's going to happen, it's going to be minimal and not maximum. Thank you. That's my take from there.
Yeah, John, I know that you've had kind of quite a few years of experience working with Clean Water Action, and I was just kind of curious what changes you have personally seen, like in terms of like the climate crisis. like what issues have been exacerbated that like you personally have been able to kind of help contribute to fixing with like Clean Water Action?
Sure. So first I'm going to stand up and show off my t-shirt. So we're a US based organization, but you see the globe is centered there. And as I mentioned earlier, everything we do here in the US is multiplied globally. One person in the US has many, many, many times the carbon and climate impact footprint of anyone in the global South. And so that suggests that any business that's serious about working on climate needs to be paying attention to what happens in the US as well as what happens globally. So having said that, the biggest change I mentioned in my introduction, the concept that climate change is water change. I should also mention another concept. This is an old slogan that dates from before my organization even existed in the 1970s. We all live downstream. And that's true about water pollution. It's also true about climate pollution. We can update that slogan for today to say we can't all live upstream. And that's a more cynical way of putting it, but it's very true. The same forces that are causing climate changing pollution, which is the burning of fossil fuels, the use of fossil fuels to drive industrial agriculture, the use of fossil fuels to inundate the planet with single-use disposable plastic crap and trash. It's all the same. And as climate change gets worse, that makes water problems worse. Sometimes it's too much water. Sometimes it's not enough water and drought. Sometimes it's extreme weather events that make pollution problems much worse by flooding out tank farms, industrial facilities, industrial agriculture facilities, and unleashing pollution on everyone downstream. That is happening more and more often. And I would say awareness of that is growing. Interest in climate is growing, but it's tended to be myopically focused on just climate, as if the climate issue is disconnected from any of the other things that we've been talking about today. That's a serious mistake, and if we only focus on climate, we will not have real solutions. We need to be focusing on economics. We need to be focusing on not just US policy, but policies and economics in the global South. We need to be intentional and serious about changing the colonial economic systems that are continuing to drive this problem. And we need to go beyond things that are window dressing, like I mentioned earlier, just the buying and selling of carbon offsets. That's a piece of the solution, but it is by no means the solution. This is not a problem we can buy our way out of at all. So what my organization is doing, we're working at several different levels, but most of them have to do with pushing the levers of civil society. People in the US, a vast majority, acknowledge climate change as a problem. Elected politicians in the US do not. Half or fewer are actively pursuing solutions in their roles, passing legislation, implementing regulations, changing the behaviors that are driving climate change. That's a problem of civil society, and so my organization works to fix it through education, helping people understand that the issue is real and how it affects them and what they can do about it. Accountability, making sure that all the disconnects between the public that cares and the politicians who are supposed to care and don't, we have to fix those disconnects. And then disrupting the toxic system that has caused those disconnects, which has to do with the influence of money in politics, the distortion of the democratic process and civil society by big money, special interests. And I know that's a simplistic way of putting it, but that is the situation that we're in today. Hope for the future, just focused on the question of the business sector. Most businesses understand the threats, challenges, risks, and opportunities of climate change. Most have yet to embrace the role that their own enterprise, whether it's a micro enterprise or a multinational corporation, can have in contributing to solutions through corporate practices, through corporate philanthropy, through engagement of their workforce, and through engagement of their customer base. Those are all the ingredients of a successful partnership of the kind that I work on, whether it's at a national or multinational scale with a big company or a hyper local business. All of those things need to come into play. The business voice for protecting clean water, for action on climate, for climate justice, for racial justice, for economic justice, that is there, but it's not being heard. We're only hearing from the US Chamber of Commerce, the Business and Industry Council, the big polluters. We need to be hearing from businesses and their employees and their customers who care about this. That's how we get real change. So those are examples. The results we got are manifested in state and federal policies, in business practice changes. And I should also add, there is a lot of economic upside to action on climate. We want to make sure that those benefits accrue to everyone, not just people in the top 1% or 10%. They should be benefiting everybody. And so a lot of our focus is on that as well.
That's great. Thank you, John. Would anybody else like to comment on that?
Yeah, I would like to comment on that. Can you hear me?
There's a little bit of fuzz with your audio still.
I've tried my level best to rectify the problem. I think I'm having a big challenge with audio. But can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you a little bit. Yep.
So can I go on?
Yep.
Okay. So as I said earlier, I work with the Green Zimbabwe Initiative Trust. We are working on educating the rural community on environmental conservation. So what we have realized in Zimbabwe, I will mainly focus on Zimbabwe because that's where I have experience. So what we have seen is that rural communities are usually the people that are suffering the most from these effects of climate change. We talk about drought. Drought usually affects the poor, and the way the poor are, they're in the rural areas. We talk about even flooding. Flooding usually happens there. It's very rare that you hear of flooding in cities in Zimbabwe. They usually happen in the rural areas. And we are actually looking at the causes of that, and we're trying to mitigate. How can we mitigate against poverty? How can we mitigate against deforestation, which results in flooding, which results in water insecurity, as John Scott was talking about? So what we've realized is for the past year, we have been planting trees here in Zimbabwe with the Green Zimbabwe Initiative, but we have realized that no, people are hungry. And as long as the people are hungry, they will continue to do destruction. They will continue to destroy the environment so that they can feed themselves. So there is gold farming here in Zimbabwe. Those gold farmers are actually destroying forests. They are destroying the soil. There are also other activities like brick molding. They do these not because they want to do them, no. They do this because they want to feed their families. They are trying to fend for their families. So we have come up with a project that we are calling a Project Kajanas. We are going to plant pigeon peas. So we are going to give them free seed, free pigeon pea seeds, so that they plant them as a way of saving them from the hunger that they face, so that they can have something, they can have food readily available to them, food which they can have any time of the year, because pigeon peas, they grow all way around. They are not limited with the seasons. They are not limited with the soil type. They are not limited with the pH of the soil. So they grow all year round, and they are perennials. And from the study that we had, we realized that you can plant the seeds from the same tree to the 5th generation. and still getting good yields. So that's the impact that we are doing here in Zimbabwe for the rural communities. That's where we are mainly based. Thank you. I hope you are hearing me.
Yeah, yeah. Like I said, it's a little fuzzy at times, but we were able to hear you, and thank you for the work that you're doing. Asenso, would you like to comment on that?
Yeah. It's just like my brothers have said already. We started here basically to do education and also to sensitize people and make them aware of the environment. And so things has not been very good, but I think for now, even the government itself has realized the impacts of the environment on the whole society. So the government is also engaged, and we have now youth clubs and all that we are trying to help. When we started at first, our major problem was how to get to the people and explain to them to understand the need to be very careful about the environment. You know, there was a research which was conducted by one of our universities in Ghana, Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, and then the results was so scary because for about 5 years now, Ghana has been battling with the illegal mining, and then the effect of it is so deadly because what they do is they wash the gold in the river bodies, and then the cyanide that is used to extract the gold goes straight to the river body. So the research came out, and they were telling us that due to this, they did some research, and they found out that most of the people are having kidney problems. And then there is a possibility of we going to have deformed babies in the near future. And almost all the food, especially the root food like cassava, yam, and those things have been polluted already. To the extent that even I think some part of the Europe, they didn't want to buy cocoa from Ghana. You know, Ghana is the second highest producer of cocoa, but people now realize that even the cocoa that was coming to Europe has been contaminated with chemicals and all that. And so the effect was so deadly. So we started talking to the people. We went to the villages, and we also went to some of the schools trying to tell them the effect with the research and all that, and telling them the effect of what will happen to us if we are not careful. And aside that, it was also creating so much flooding because most of the river bodies have been blocked with these illegal miners and all that. So anytime there's a little rain, you see the whole environment to be flooded. So, but the problem we're facing mostly is people are always looking for an alternative source of livelihood. But this is what they do for living. This is what they earn their living from. So when you explain to them, they understand you, they know the effects. They themselves have been seeing it because we went to one of the villages, and the villagers were telling us that they are unable to even spray their cocoa with the stream water. Because when you start spraying the cocoa with the water, the cocoa start dying off because the river itself has been contaminated with so much chemicals. So they have seen the effect, but they are looking for alternative livelihood. So we started doing this on mango plantation. So we partnered with one of the NGOs around, and then they were helping us with some seedlings to give to the farmers. But the problem is, you know, mango plantation, it takes some time, within 3 4 years before you start harvesting. And so that is another issue. And we also came out with the fish farming because we wanted to protect the river body. So we know that when we start fish farming and the person is into fish farming, definitely he's going to be careful about the river. And so we started that as well. But yes, it has not been very good, but people are responding. We are responding positively because I think recently, somewhere last year, Moody's and other rating companies rated Ghana B minus, all because of the effect of the environment. They realized that we have not been very careful with the environment, and so the whole nation have now come to realization that we need to do something. So we are only helping to also take the front line and try to tell people. Now, when you go to the people and you start speaking to them about the environment, they themselves are seeing the effects, so they understand. The only question they keep asking is, what do we do if we stop doing what we are doing now? That has been the only problem, but people are now responding. You know, in Ghana, we used to have two seasons, the rainy season and the Harmattan. And then, so we always expect rain rainfall between March to I think August. That's when normally there is rain. Then from September thereof, sometimes it will rain later. But from January, it is normally the Harmattan season, so you don't experience much of rains. But now it is not like that again. It rains anytime, and sometimes it can also go very dry for a very long period. So when you go there and you are explaining to them, you tell them that these are the effects we are going to see. Now you cannot even plan your season, because normally farmers know when to start their farming, because they know it will rain at this time and then the rain will stop at this time. I can harvest at this time and all that. But now you can't do that situation again, because you can't predict the rainfall. And so if you don't stop cutting down trees, you don't stop destroying the forest for galamsey activities. Galamsey is the illegal mining actually. The galamsey activities and all those things. These are the effects we are going to see. So when you explain to them, they understand. The only problem we are facing now is what I said, that the people are only looking for that source of livelihood. And so we are trying to come out with other programs that will help, so that we can all get them out from that kind of life.
Gotcha. I just saw your message in the chat, John. Climate solutions must also be food system solutions, just as climate solutions must also be solutions that protect clean water and create good paying jobs and economic benefit for all. I think you really summed that up like really well. A lot of like the really key points that we've had in discussion so far. And Folorancho, what would you like to say?
Yes, I think I just agree with Gideon what he's just saying, what he said, like, we, with what he said, I think we're doing something similar as well. And he mentioned the fact that the people themselves are tired of the situation and they are asking for solution, they are seeking for solution. What do we do? Because they've noticed there's a change. We need solution. You understand? And that's why I said that we need to go down to the grassroots. We need to go down to the frontiers and bring this solution to these people. Unless these people will no longer be able, those land will no longer be habitable for these people out there. If you're asking the governments to explain all this to you, you may not really see it, but they are the one that knows what is happening. They can feel the passion, and I understand the perspective about which Gideon is coming, because we are also doing something similar. Because when the farmer or somebody that is well known to be a very good agriculturist, and himself is confused of what is really happening, and they need solution. And what is the solution? These are the solutions we need to come together and bring them to these people. We need to create awareness. We need to talk to them. We need to plant more trees. We need to advise them to use less chemicals. Let's go natural, and let's go for more afforestation than deforestation. Let's go on more of renewable recycling and see how to treat the water. You understand? So these are the solutions they should build. Before going on to this, you are trying to ask somebody to stop doing something. You also have to bring an opportunity to the table for the person as well. You understand? Unless such will not be sustainable. You have to think of, how can I sustain this for a very long time? Are you just going to talk and leave them alone? They will still go back to it. That's just the truth, Gideon. They will go back to it. What are the process? What are the templates you are putting down? What are the plans you are putting down to sustain these plans? To make these people so that they can deviate from their crude way or rural way of doing things to the modern way that will also help and change the environment. Sorry, my question to Gideon.
Oh,
Yeah. Okay. Can you hear me?
there,
Yeah.
gotcha.
Yes, I can.
What we are trying to do now is that, like I said, all this thing comes with money. You need to help them, give them maybe a soft loan when what they can use to start a new livelihood or they start something different. And so that has been the problem. Like I said, we started with some mango plantation because we started with tree planting actually. and we were giving them the seedlings to plant trees and all that. But what happened is, when you give them, they will plant the tree, but for them to nurture it, they won't, because he wouldn't want to do something without getting anything out of it. And so we decided that, okay, then why don't we go into mango, because that one becomes your own farm, and then in the future you can earn money from it and all that. So that is how we started, and then we are doing it gradually with them. With some of the companies are helping us to help the farmers out of this lifestyle. And talking about the forests and all that, like I said, we have big cocoa farms in Ghana, and most of the cocoa farms have been sold off to the Galamsey. The issue is the money he gets from the mining, the illegal miners, are like 5-6 times more than whatever he can earn from cocoa farming, and so it looks more lucrative than going into the farming. So that's one of the biggest issues, because so we are thinking about a mechanized type of farming, because somebody will be farming for the whole year, and at the end of the year he won't even earn more than $900, right? But when he goes into mining, within some few weeks or months he can earn that money. So why would he want to waste his whole time fighting over something that he can't even earn any better money from it? And so we are talking about changing our kind of farming, because it is more about cutlass and hoe type of farming. We are not doing any mechanized type of farming, no irrigation channels and irrigation farming and all those things. So this is what we are trying to do. We decided to partner with the government, because the government started a program called Planting for Food and Jobs. And so we decided to partner with them, and then tell the people, and also explain to the people and lead them into having access to those things. But like I said, in Africa, whenever government starts a program, it will look very lucrative, but along the way, things get messed up. And so that is what we are now. But we hope to get a way out of it. And some way, when the COVID also came in, it affected us a bit. But I think we are trying to do something about it and try to lead the people and let them know that even though they might lose their livelihood, but the path that they are treading is so dangerous, it will affect their future, and it's unsustainable, because this is a unrenewable natural resource. So the gold definitely it will get finished. By the time it gets finished, you don't have any lands again. You have destroyed your body. So how are you going to survive afterwards? So these are what we are telling the people. We hope that we will find a permanent solution to the whole.
Gideon, thank you so much for that, for such question. And as well, did you also, your organization as well also introduce clean cooking energy to them, something of solar, looking to these communities as well? Because actually, I've been able to have some meetings with some social enterprise organization that empowers women. Like, okay, if you are going to such communities, as I said, as I'm saying, like, if you're able to get the women of a community, you've gotten the community. And I think last month, Ghana organized Clean Cooking Forum conference in Accra, which was also attended by the second lady of Ghana, which they are very much aware. And there have been a lot of projects about clean cooking energy in Ghana taking place now. And I don't know, because some of these women, some of these people, if we are just telling them only about the agricultural aspect alone, we should also tell them about the renewable energy aspect of it as well, so that they can see the opportunities in a very broad way. Some may decide, okay, I don't want to do agriculture. I want to go into renewable. I want to go into selling of solar lamps. I want to be the installer. I want to be into the tracker, and also want to be into the clean energy aspect of it. So these are form of other ways of solution we can as well put hands together to help these people in the communities as a frontiers, because we need to sustain it. And note, government projects most time is not sustainable, especially in Africa. Government projects most projects is not sustainable. If appropriate partnership or partner the body managing it are not really doing what is necessary. So these are what we need to look at as well. We shouldn't just think how the government is going to take. We need to think ahead of the government. We need to bring policies as a frontier that, okay, this is what we want you to do. We don't want it this way. Because at the end of it, if the disasters happen, we will still run back to you and you will ask us that you said you need big money to create solution. So for you not to be bringing out big money every time, lots of huge money funding to create this solution, let's find a way to sustain this, to create a jobs, to create this. So these are what I'm trying to talk to you about Gideon as well. So I think I'm done. I'm just trying to add my own quarter to whatever you're doing as well. Thank you so much, Gideon.
You're welcome. And talking about the renewable source of energy and those things, actually, we haven't gone much into it now, as it stands now. Our focus has all been about the river bodies because that is more dangerous. We need immediate solution to it now. So that is what we've been focusing. But like you said, I think in the future we should be considering that one as. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I just wanted to highlight real quick, John, you had a message in the chat earlier. Folarancho is correct. Climate solutions must reflect the lived experience and frontline expertise of people at the grassroots. It is an honor to be a part of this discussion with leaders who are clearly committed to leading from and or for from the grassroots. That is how we make progress together. I absolutely agree with you, John. It is really wonderful to learn from people that are, in the grassroots organizations that are making impact. And it's really great to learn more about specifically all across Africa, just some of the struggles that you guys have from just the current leaders that are in government. And also it's interesting to learn about how I liked Folarancho, you brought up that you need to bring an opportunity to the table for a lot of these people to change a lot of their practices to make them more sustainable, or otherwise they don't really have a reason to change. And Tawanda, I saw that your hand is raised.
Yeah, right. I wanted to put in my contribution on what Gideon was saying. I think one of the best solution, according to me, that is rural industrialization. You see, when people cannot feed themselves, they will always destroy the environment for them to survive. So what we as the Green Zimbabwe Initiative are advocating is that there is need for rural industrialization so that opportunities, employment opportunities, and income generation opportunities are created for the rural people. That is the best way that we can as well move in to abate the effects of climate change and as well to conserve our environment. So there's need for raw industries like, for example, processing of whatever that they produce in their fields. If we have a processing plant in the raw areas, it means there's going to be need for labor, there's going to be need for transporters, there's going to, it's an economy that would have been established there. In Zimbabwe, there's a policy for growth points, whereby these rural communities will have a center of commerce where they can go to for job opportunities and the like, as a way of trying to minimize the road to urban migration. But these same centers can as well help us, the people who are championing climate initiatives, to be able to execute our duties well. Thank you, Anna.
Yeah, of course. And Neb, I see that you've put some information in the chat and there was a question that you'd like to ask the panel.
Yeah, I came across this International Monetary Fund release of their the World Economic Outlook database. Um, and basically it shares and features the organization's projected GDP, the gross domestic product growth for about 53 countries in Africa, and I pulled like five off the list. And my question to the panelists, I'm curious to know, what are these countries doing differently than others, like currently right now, because this is an expected projection into the future. Like, what do you guys know of, what's going on in these economies currently that's giving them these types of measurements? And I guess I'm also curious to know, like, um, if there's any understanding on how the legal infrastructure is set up. Like, um, I understand, like most countries are built on civil law, which is, we set the mandate. This is how things are done. You break the rules, there are consequences. Versus common law, like British common law, which is the same legal structure that Dubai used to build their economy. I'm curious if any of these countries are currently moving into a more common law structure, and that's why they're seeing growth, or if you know like what exactly is going on. I'm just curious. I'm wanting to know if the panelists have any insight.
And I have just a add on question. Are those real numbers, or is that money being extracted from those countries and most of it not benefiting the people living there? So, because measurement of dollars or currency alone doesn't tell you about true prosperity or growth.
Thank you for bringing that up, John. Panelists, what do you guys think? Do you guys have any comments on that?
I would like to comment on that. I don't know in those countries that were posted their law. In Zimbabwe, we use the British system of policing. All policies are made using that. We have the legislature, then we have the executive, then we have the judiciary. That's how Zimbabwe is run. But I think, like what Scott said, we should not merely look at the figures, because even if you check our GDPs in Africa, they all represent that there is economic improvement year in, year out. Check, but that does not translate to the good of the general public. So sometimes there is need of a robust research on how the ordinary people are benefiting out of whatever numbers that would have been put across as a measure of development. In fact, in terms of indices and indexes, there is also need. I'm not sure if there's an index that shows how the general population is performing, because in those countries that have been listed, Mozambique, for example, it's in a sorry state, and most of its ordinary people are in poverty. So I think there's need of an index that shows how the people in those areas, the ordinary people that is, are benefiting from how the economy is performing. Thank you.
Full Run Show, I see your hand is raised. Oh, I don't know if it was just, did you want to speak?
Okay.
Or?
Okay. Yeah. I can hear. Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Thank
Yeah,
you
we
so
can
much.
hear you. You were just on mute.
Okay. I think I just want to talk about one or two things about what John said. And actually, Africa is different from the American and the British policy. The African policies have been made through the templates of the British, especially Nigeria, because we're colonized by them. But one thing that has always been a problem of Africa is implementation of those policies. They make those policies, but implementing it in the proper way is not what we really have here. And you also mentioned about why is it not Africa countries follow these steps? When you have a leader, you can do more than if you're not a leader. You expect the leaders to be the ones to guide you right, to put things for you. Some African countries actually are trying, to be candid. There are developments, as my other friend said, that Sangu said, that there are some developments every year in African countries, especially in Nigeria, which was one of the third biggest African economy after South Africa, Egypt, and I think Nigeria is the third or second. I think South Africa is the first. So what are we trying to say? But despite all these index and statistics of development, what are we still reporting to the world? Are we able to resolve our own problems? Actually, we are still having more rates of poverty. Why? If there's a growth in a place, that means that anything that concerns growth means the people are being elevated out of poverty. There are now more people that have access to resources. There are now more rich people. But the way it happens in Africa is, as I said, the rich get richer, the poor get poorer. You don't quantify the profit or the growth of a country by with just the few with the growth of few people or the rich people. You quantify the growth of a country with the development, the number of people that has been elevated out of poverty. And the government of Nigeria actually is trying. Of recent last year, before the COVID-19, there has been a lot of funding for SME and MMEs as well. But of recent, we noticed because of the COVID-19 issue, there will be a lot of come down because there's a lot of debts. If you are making growth and you are owing debts, are you making growth? Yes, we're trying to work. We need help, but let's look at how to develop our people. Let's look at how to create opportunities for them. Let's look at how to make them grow. China of recent brought out statistics that they have been able to elevate over 600 million Chinese people out of poverty in the last 10 to 15 years. This is what we want to hear from African leaders. This is what we want to hear from the world leaders as well. This is what will motivate you and say, okay, truly the funding and the everything that the world powers and the UN are doing is really working out. But in the case you're pumping money and you are having a negative result, that means that these things are not properly done. There is something going on there which we need to work on. So that's why most sectors of nowadays need frontiers. We need those that have to go to the field. I always say this, the African agencies or ministries should be privatized mostly, should be partnered, there should be synergy, partnership. They shouldn't be like just like kind of the African it is, because since the African countries does not understand sustainability, we need to know how to sustain. That is just the truth. The aspect of sustainability is not really what we are seeing in African economy. If I may ask you, Zango, as you said, all these projects that we're looking at, we're trying to do, what are the ways at which the government, the policies that have been put down for them to sustain this project? You can put your own quota, but in the next 10 to 15 years, are you still sure that whatever you are doing, somebody else is going to do it better than you do and still sustain the legacy? Or somebody else will just come and crush it off like that and just say it's nowhere to be found? So these are the leaders need to sit down and think. So these are really applied that we've been complaining of. Africa needs to grow. We don't want to always depend we want to be independent. If you are saying you're an independent nation, you have to be independent financially. Don't no interference of your politics, of your leadership from anybody. Financially, things that you're doing. So I still see a lot happening as well. There will still be growth. Actually, there will be growth in Africa. But let's look at, are the grassroots people growing? Are the grassroots people, did they know what's happening? Even about the climate change. If you give a farmer fund to go plant and you did not tell him about climate change and how it's going to prevent to get a very good place to farm, at the end of it, erosion or drought will come and clear off the farm. It goes back to square one. So these are what I think we need to address as well. Thank you so much.
Yeah, Songo, did you want to respond to that?
Yes, I wanted to respond to what my brother has just said. You know, in terms of implementation, there's a problem, especially with our African governments. The policies will be good, but when it comes to the implementation of what has been agreed on, there is a big problem. You know, there is the Maputo Declaration of 2001. It was done by SADC countries. I think my brothers know or have heard of it. That Maputo declaration say that all SADC governments should set aside 10% of their national budget for agriculture. But I can tell you that no single country to date has committed its resources, 10% of its national resources to farming. If that were the case, that 10% of the national budget was set aside for farming and the agricultural purposes, these issues that we are discussing today of hunger, these issues of poverty would be things of the past. But the problem is in implementing what would have been agreed on. Thank you so much.
Yeah, Senso, I see you have your hand up as well.
Yeah, I'm trying to talk about what my brother said earlier. Talking about the government structure, I think I would say we have one of the best in Ghana. We have the central government, the parliament there to make laws, and the judicial service also works very effectively. In Ghana, we have what we call the Ghana Standard Authority. And before you start any business, you need a license from them. We have the EP, Environmental Protection Agency, and then they are supposed to protect the environment. So whenever you want to go into anything that has effect on the environment, you need license from them. So all these agencies are there. We have various of them. I mean, so many of them. But the issue is just like what my brother said, the implementation is the problem. Agencies are there, they have been resourced, but they are not doing what they are supposed to do. And so we have that issue. And talking about the figures, you see, normally you will see a very good macroeconomic figures from Africa. For instance, in Ghana this year, we have a balance of trade surplus, because that was because we were exporting so many oil, gold, cocoa. So at the end of the day, we have a balance of trade surplus. But the balance of payment, we have a deficit. You get it. So the issue is not only about the figures. There is no equity in the whole thing. And the third thing is repatriation. Most of the companies in Ghana are owned by foreigners. And so whatever they earn from Ghana, they repatriate it back. And so most of the time, you don't really see the effect in the country because the owners are not in Ghana. At the end of the year, they will have to repatriate all their profit back home, and they are not reinvesting those profits back into the economy. And so at the end of the day, you always see us at the same level. You know, we are now having problem with even access to loans because the interest rate in Ghana now is 36% per annum. And so imagine you are going to take a loan and you have to pay an interest of 36% per annum. How are you going to do that? And so the loans are only given to commercial companies, those who are doing importation. So you see that every time, instead of the person to manufacture, he will try to import because importation, the goods are already there. You only have to go buy them and then sell them. But when you want to go into manufacturing, it's going to take a longer time before you even break even. And you can't take a loan of 36% per annum and you want to go into manufacturing. So these are part of the problem we are having. So we are always going for the finished goods. And the economy is built on a primary economy. That's the production of raw materials and all that. But the secondary economy, where you'll be doing much of the production, much of the manufacturing, that is where you can also have so much employment that is missing. So we produce the raw material, we give to the foreigners, they produce it into the raw finished goods, and you go back and buy them. And so you always see us going back to the same thing. But when you go to the villages, you really see that the figures that the government is showing is not actually what is reflecting with the people. But then the figures are not manufactured anyway. It is the correct figures they are showing, just that there's no equity. In Ghana, for instance, they decided to set apart some of their oil money for sustainability purposes. So about, I think it was 10% of the oil money will go into a fund called Heritage Fund. And in that Heritage Fund, that means this part of the money will be saved for the future generation. Recently, the parliament went and passed a law that the money should be used because we cannot be thinking about the future when we are not able to certify our current need. And so the money should be used. So these are part of the problem we are facing. So anytime we want to go into any major project, there is no finance. Just like what my brother was saying, that the villages must go into manufacturing. We need to turn the raw material into finished goods. It's a fantastic idea. It's a fantastic idea. But how are you going to do that? These villages you are talking about, they are just peasant farmers. They don't have that much resources to do anything. And we, those who are going to them and talk to them, we can also do the same thing. So sometimes we try to partner with some of the companies so that they can buy the raw materials from them. And there are instances you go to a certain village, they are abundant of food. You come to the city, there are no food there. The connection is not there. The food chain is not there because bad road networks and all that. And so you can't even get the food from the villages to the town. And that's one of the problems. So even if you talk to a company to go and set up a branch over there, he's unable to do, or he's not willing to do, because there are no better road system over there. Sometimes the electricity problem they have problem with power, electricity, and all that. So no one wants to go there and start any business. So these are part of the problem we are facing. So the macro indicators could be good and it could be fantastic, but when you come to the micro, it's a different story altogether.
John, I see you have your hand up.
Yes, partly because I'm gonna have to leave the conversation, and I feel like we're just getting started. But I just did want to share some ideas that might be a call to action, helpful for us to think about. One is, and coming back to the original premise of the conversation, which is a role for businesses and business philanthropy. It's quite clear from just this little bit of conversation that there's no shortage of problems and no shortage of solutions and no shortage of leaders to make those with vision to make those solutions happen. Again, whether we're talking about in the US or the global South, everywhere. So we are at a crisis point. This is not a time for any business of any scale to sit on the sidelines and not do anything. But it's also a time, I think, for businesses to think differently about the role that philanthropy and engagement in civil society should be structured. And historically, the structure is once we are successful and profitable, we may choose to give a little bit back. I would suggest that is an outmoded way of thinking about this. I believe that business philanthropy and civic engagement, where the business voice for sustainability and action on climate and all the other issues we've been talking about is addressed, that should be baked into the business. It should be completely separate from profit. It's a cost of doing business. It's a mandate of doing business. We need to insist on it. And I would further suggest the businesses that get that and make that happen are the ones that are going to be successful for the long haul, because they're the ones that are going to remain relevant. They're the ones that will attract and retain the best talent. They're the ones that will give us a livable planet. And so this isn't an optional thing. It's just a question of how you implement it and how you bring the values that you have as a business, that your employees have, that your customers have, how you bring those values into fruition in the real world. So this is an opportunity, a big opportunity, but it's also a call to action for businesses. And I would love to continue this conversation. It's so important.
Yeah, John, thank you so much for everything you've contributed today. And I think that it's great for us to really end on like a call to action. And it's that we're going a little over our time with 12:06. And just what you said, John, there's a lot of issues, challenges, and developments that nonprofits and NGOs are facing around the world, and that can be a very, very long conversation. But I really wanted to give you all the opportunity as panelists to kind of end our discussion on just kind of what you did, John, if everybody else wanted to do that. For everybody that's listening to this round panel discussion, what is it that you would like them to take away from the discussion? And what would you give them as a call to action? And I'll start with you, Asenso. Oh, are you there, Asenso? Okay, in the meantime, I'll head over to you, to Wanda. So the question being, for this roundtable discussion, what would you really like just people that watch this to take away from this discussion? And what would be a call to action that you would want viewers to have?
Thank you, Anna. I strongly feel that there is need for more to be done in this climate crisis. More needs to be done in terms of funding, in terms of programs. We need not only programs to help people eat today. No, we need programs that can be replicated everywhere. That's what we are trying to do at the Green Zimbabwe Initiative. We are trying to create a sustainable and regenerative economy. So my call to action is more needs to be done. These kind of discussions, we need more because they are eye-opening. I've learned a lot just by listening to other panelists talking about what they are doing in their lives. So I think more of these positive engagements need to be done. Thank you so much.
Absolutely, and thank you for being with us today. Full Run Show, are there any kind of closing remarks you would have for call to action and kind of key takeaways from today that viewers should have?
Oh, thank you, Anna. I think this topic is a very good topic that if we decided to start talking for good 4 hours, we are not really going, we are just going to keep talking and talking and talking. But at the end of the day, all we need is partnership. Partnership. Why did you ask me? Why did I say that? We can't do this alone. US can't do this alone. The world can't do this alone. Africa can't do this alone. We all need to work together to make this happen, to create solutions, because we are talking about our generations to come. If we want to see our generations to come, the action is now. It may not only be funding alone, eye-opening, educating, trainees, funding, partnership. Those are what that are being needed for us, to bring solutions to the table. So I urge anyone looking at this that partnership, keep partnering to bring solution and to change the world to a better place, and also for us to reduce the effect of climate change. Partnership, that is what really matters. Thank you.
Thank you. And Asenso, I think you're with us now. If you would like to give us your closing remarks and call to action.
Can you hear me now? Because I was speaking, but you are not hearing me or something.
Oh, sorry. We do hear you now. Yep.
Okay, so it's clear now, right? Because
Yep.
when you asked me a question, I was trying to answer, but you were not getting.
Oh, I'm so sorry about that. Glad we have you on now.
All right. So like what I would say is that in terms of education and creativity of awareness, we are getting somewhere. I mean, people are now aware. They know, they have seen it themselves. They know the effect of the climate change. They know the effect of the environment on their livelihood and all. So in terms of that, I think we are getting somewhere. But the other problem is they they always come back and ask you an alternative livelihood, and that has been the biggest problem because you can't tell someone to stop what he's doing without providing him with an alternative. And so that
Yeah,
is
that's
one of the biggest problems we are trying to battle now. And so whoever is listening to us, we are looking for, just like my brother said, we need partnership. People, we are trying to brainstorm and try to see how best we all can come together and help the people so we can take them out from this type of attitude towards the environment. I learned something about Kuznets curve, and it was saying that when people are the down part of the ladder, it's a U-shaped curve. So whenever people are so poor, they don't really care much about the environment. But when they start making one, that's when they become careful about the environment and the effect of it. And you can see that clearly. Whenever you go to the very poor communities, you tell them they know. It's not like sometimes they don't know. They know, they are aware, they know what is happening, but they look so helpless because if you tell him to stop what he's doing, you ask them, how do I survive from here? So I think that is one of the problems we are battling with. So just like you said, we may need partnership, we need funding and other things so we can help our people. Thank you.
Yeah, so thank you all for sharing your expertise today. There's a lot that I've learned about just especially like what's going on in Africa. And John, your insights here from the United States have been incredibly great as well. It's great to really have a global perspective for a lot of these nonprofit and NGO conversations where we're all facing like some similar challenges and developments, but they do vary significantly based on what parts of the climate crisis we're like dealing with most readily, resources that are available to us all, the structures of our government, all of those such have such a huge impact on the impact we're able to have within our organizations. And Folorancho, I really like your just highlight of partnership, the critical importance of partnership, all of us coming together. This is a global issue. This affects the United States, this affects Africa, this affects the world. It's so important for us all to come together now while we have the time to act. So I really like that there's been a focus on that today and that hopefully all of your organizations will continue to receive some funding this year. And I'm really excited to see the work that you all are going to be doing in the next coming decades to really make a difference in this climate emergency. So I just want to say thank you all for the efforts that you're doing in your own personal time to really make a difference for our planet and help create better outcomes. That being said, I'd love to just have some closing remarks from, some of our Symbiotic team here. So Jay, it looks like you'd like to speak.
Thank you, Hannah. What a wonderful job moderating. Doing a great job there. And thank you to all the panelists. Everybody has such a tremendous voice from perspective of where they're coming from and what they're doing on the ground. And I like to say, from my perspective, it is all hands on deck, all systems check, all hats, all mediums, with the call to action, just reciprocating or stating, what John said with the partnerships for the goals is really, I believe, what Folorancho was talking about. We look to get methods and actions that can support better outcomes in the call to action with business needing to do so. So thanks, everybody. And I'm going to keep it short and grateful to be here and be with you all.
Yeah, Neb, is there any kind of last statements that you'd like to share with the panel before we close out?
Yeah, I just want to say that, we at Symbiotic want to help you make a difference in the world. And, the word symbiotic, it means two organisms sharing a close long-term relationship. And so I just want to like drive that home that, that's what this team is about. And we believe that this is how we can create good in the world and bring about positive change. And we want to work with you and we want to collaborate in ways to make the world a better place. And we think that sharing our stories like we did today is the first step in how we can affect change in the world. And then, we want y'all, to leave here and think of Symbiotic as the, as your positive outlet, as a way to, bring back that symbiotic relationship. Again, the word that means two organisms sharing a close long-term relationship. Again, like a number of the panelists have said today, partnership is the only way to make this happen.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Neb. Yeah, exactly. Just to kind of echo what Neb and Jay said, that's really one of the greatest things about working for Symbiotic is being able to embed philanthropy in everyday business transactions that can help support organizations doing some of the work that you guys are doing here on this panel. That's really important to us, and that's why we really wanted to bring everyone together today to just hear and learn from all of your experiences about organizations that we really care about supporting. So once again, thank you all so much for sharing your expertise today and for all the work that you are doing around the world to create better outcomes for the planet. So that will close us off. Thank you guys so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks,
Bye.
everybody.
Bye,
See you.
bye, Jay. Bye, Hannah.
Yeah,
Bye.
great meeting
Gideon.
you all and hearing from you all and learning from you
Yeah,
all.
bye. Bye.
Yeah,
Bye, John.
absolutely. Great. I learned so much today.
We'll do it again.
All right, Jay, you can stop the recording now.